As always, every year you get your good movies and you get your bad movies. Like I mentioned before, I've seen 84 movies, so of course I got my fair share of bad movies. So I'm going to give you my top 5 worst movies of the year. Now, I'm not going to give you my top 10 because I don't want this video to be even more depressing. So coming in at number 5 is Dealing with Idiots, written and directed by comedian Jeff Garlin. And I have no idea what he was going for. What he was going for, I just didn't get, because he has a boatload of comedians in it, and this movie is just as dry as a raisin. I mean, I can count on my hand how many times I laughed in this movie, and it was like probably twice. This movie showed that it was made by a first-time director because it's nothing, has no sense of style, has no sense of direction. It's just bland beyond belief. And for a comedy to have all these comedians in it and just make me laugh twice, that's a failure in my book. So coming in at number 4 is Welcome to the Punch. Welcome to the Punch is one of the most generic thrillers you will ever see. It brings nothing new to the table. If you've seen one thriller, you've seen this one, because it's the same exact thriller you've seen in the past before, but it's done worse. You think of thrillers that you see nowadays, it's the same exact one that you see here. It's generic, it's bland, it brings no new surprise to the thriller genre. It's pretty much an hour and 30 minutes full of blandness. And the only good redeeming part of this movie is the fact that it's James McAvoy and the guy that plays on Low with the Sun, who plays every bad guy in America today. So other than that, pretty much you've seen this movie before. Moving on to my number 3, Riddick. Now, a lot of fans like the first 2 movies. I didn't see the first 2 movies, maybe that's the reason why I didn't like this one, but Riddick is the most poorly acted movie I've seen all year. The acting was terrible, the dialogue in this movie was horrendous, and for an action movie, I can ignore that if you have a good payoff. It had no payoffs, it had no major villain, it was just a mediocre, going through the mill type of movie where you get nothing out of it. Now, like I said before, if you're going to be an action movie with bad acting and terrible dialogue, then give me something to compensate for that with good action. This movie didn't even do that. I mean, it didn't even have a major villain. And the villains that they did have in this movie was creatures. And even with that, the fight and action scenes wasn't even well done. It was just like, okay, that's it. I wasn't entertained by it. And honestly, I really could have done without this movie. It was just terrible. But not as terrible as my number 2 movie. Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. Now, I've seen the first Anchorman. I thought the first Anchorman was a good put together comedy. But this one does the same exact thing that the first one did, but blows it out of proportion. It's over the top, it's stupid, idiotic, and it insults your brain cells as a film fan, because it felt like this movie was made by 6-year-olds. But even that is a disgrace to 6-year-olds, because I bet 6-year-olds can write much better movies than this. This movie is just so idiotic and stupid beyond belief. I mean, this movie is 2 hours long. For a comedy, you don't need to be 2 hours long. At most, for a comedy, you need to be 90 minutes. And when you go past 90 minutes for a comedy, everything goes downhill. Most of these jokes in this movie was a miss. And what I found most irritating is the fact that even though Steve Carell was good, he had some funny moments, but the moments we had with his girlfriend was just totally annoying and irritating. I just could not stand those particular scenes. Honestly, I sat in that movie, I felt like I needed to kill myself, because I can't believe this is actually supposed to be a comedy. I was tempted to even walk out the movie, and I never do that. This movie was just so terrible. But not as terrible as my number 1. And I think we all know what my number 1 movie is. A Good Day to Die Hard, which it should have been renamed A Good Day to Just Die. If you want to continue the franchise and kill it off like this, then you just should stop at 4. I know when I reviewed the movie, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, but that was even being decent of me. I dropped it down to a 1.5 stars because it is terrible. It's not even a Die Hard movie. Put it like this, it doesn't even deserve to be a Die Hard movie. I mean, Olympus Has Fallen was more of a Die Hard movie than this. I know everybody says it, but it's actually true. Bruce Willis in this movie mailed it in. He got his paycheck and it's called it quits, because it's not even John McClane that we knew and grew up with, at least for me. Die Hard is my favorite movie of all time. This movie just ruined it. I mean, a lot of people complain that the 4th one was a bad movie, but if they seen this, they would have no problems of liking number 4. I hated Die Hard 5 with a passion. I mean, and usually if there's another movie in the franchise, I'd like to complete the movie set. I didn't even want to look at it when it came out on Blu-ray. That's how much I hated this movie. I just hope that if they do another one, you can send John McClane out on a good note. Because this note that you did was just a bad one. I swear to God, this movie should be burned to the ground. I just hated this movie with a passion. If Benedict Cumberbatch wasn't the villain of Star Trek and gave a great performance out of that, John Moore would have been the best villain of 2013. I guarantee that, and I put money down on that. That was my little rant right there. I'm very passionate about Die Hard because Die Hard is my favorite movie of all time. You already knew what to expect out of that. So those are my top 5 worst movies of 2013. So if you guys want to check out all the movies I've seen in 2013, I put a link down in the description bar below and you guys can check it out as you please. I want to thank my old and new subscribers for supporting my channel. I really do appreciate it. So this is my last video of 2013. It's been a long year, but an enjoyable year. And let's hope we get a better year in 2014 with more better movies. But then again, it is January, so who knows. So I hope you guys had a great year and check you guys out in 2014.